In the early 2000s, Jose Mourinho was still building his reputation as a football manager in his home country, Portugal. By the end of the 2003-04 season, he was with Porto and they'd just won the Champions League trophy. Chelsea, on the other hand, had just endured a trophy-less season under Claudio Ranieri. The closest they'd gotten to winning anything was a second-place finish in the league, but they'd finished a full 11 points behind the winners, Arsenal. It was the club's first season under the new ownership of billionaire Roman Abramovich, and there was a lot of rebuilding going on. Roman must have been eager to see dividends from his investment because he started looking for Ranieri's replacement in 2004. There's a feeling that if Porto had not won the Champions League trophy, Jose's name would not have been in the hat as the potential new manager of Chelsea Football Club. Maybe Roman would have gone for a more experienced coach with a bigger profile, or maybe he'd have given Ranieri one more season at the helm. We'll never know. As fate would have it, though, Porto won the trophy, and Jose was essentially the hottest property in Europe. He was the arrogant, handsome young manager that was building a European dynasty with a well-drilled team in Portugal. And Roman wanted that dynasty to be built in London instead. Then the offer came. Before putting pen to paper on a contract at Chelsea Football Club, Jose had only built up managerial experience within Portugal. He kicked off his career as a manager with Benfica, moved to União de Leiria, and then to Porto. His time at Porto was most successful, yielding 2 league titles, the UEFA Cup and the Champions League. Chelsea Football Club is situated in London, the capital of the United Kingdom. London is the largest city in England and is home to Stamford Bridge, Chelsea's official home stadium. The stadium seats up to 40,000 people, but the record attendance is almost double that. Over 82,000 people turned up to watch a Chelsea versus Arsenal game way back in 1935. But we digress. Chelsea has played at Stamford Bridge since the club's inception, and many memories have been created on those grounds. If you ask a Chelsea fan, some of the club's greatest memories at the bridge came during Jose's time with them. Before appointing Jose, Chelsea was consistently a top 6 club in the Premier League. Under Claudio Ranieri, they'd finished 6th twice, 4th once, and 2nd once. The second-place finish was the club's highest ever finish in the league at that time. But it was not enough for Roman Abramovich to keep the Italian manager. Chelsea hadn't lifted a major trophy since the UEFA Super Cup win back in 1998, and they were desperate to win something. They now had the financial backing, but the silverware remained elusive. In the eyes of Roman and the board, Jose was the man to bring that silverware. Time would prove them right. In his first season at the club, there was a mass exodus of players that Jose did not want in his team. The owner had shown eagerness to back him in the transfer window, so he could replace anyone he wanted extremely easily. A total of 24 players left the squad that season. Loan transfers, free transfers, and upfront cash deals. But the club only made a meagre €3.3 million from player sales. On the other hand, they splashed a total of €166.4 million on 21 new players, including key players such as Didier Drogba, Petr Cech, and Arjen Robben. Jose also continued his tradition of bringing in familiar faces, with the signings of defenders Ricardo Carvalho and Paulo Ferreira from his former club, Porto. All these players played important roles in the squad-building process of a strong Chelsea unit. Over the next couple of seasons, other key signings were added to the ranks, with Jose still at the helm. Names such as Michael Essien, Sean Wright-Phillips, Andrei Shevchenko, Ashley Cole, Michael Ballack, Mikel Obi, Salomon Kalou, and Florent Malouda all came through the door. All of these players would make varying but significant contributions to the process of making Chelsea a force in England, even after Jose left the club. In less than 4 years at Chelsea, in his first stint as manager, Jose spent a whopping €370 million on new players. It was a heavy investment and show of commitment from Roman Abramovich, but it also paid off heavily. It was a match made in heaven, Chelsea Football Club and Jose Mourinho. There was barely any period of finding the right mix of players to play in the starting 11, or any real struggle in terms of getting the team to work well as a unit. They simply put in the work on the training ground, walked onto the pitch on match day, and did the business, time and again. In that first season, Jose's team won the Premier League and the League Cup. They were less successful in the FA Cup, getting knocked out in the 5th round with a 1-0 loss to Newcastle, but they got all the way to the Champions League semi-finals. Another 1-0 loss, this time to Liverpool at Anfield in the second leg, spelled the end of the road for them there. Speaking of that Premier League title win though, it overshadowed everything else at Chelsea that season. They'd never won the Premier League before that, yet somehow this new manager had come in and brought the trophy home at the first time of asking, and in style too. That 04-05 Chelsea team broke a lot of records in the league, especially defensive ones. They only conceded 15 goals all season, with goalkeeper Petr Cech keeping an astonishing 24 clean sheets along the way. Consider the fact that there are 38 games in a league season in England, and you'll see why those records remain unbroken to this day. They only lost one game all season, 0-1 away to Manchester City on match day 9, and they recorded some really impressive wins. Most impressive was their home and away wins against Manchester United and Liverpool, coming from 1-0 down to win 3-1 against Alex Ferguson's men at Old Trafford. On match day 33 particularly stood out. There was some joy in the way of big wins too, with 4-1 wins against West Brom, Fulham and Crystal Palace, and 4-0 wins against Norwich, Newcastle, Charlton and Blackburn. Frank Lampard was the talisman in all of this, playing every single game and racking up 13 goals and 16 assists in the process. At the end of the season, Chelsea had won 95 points from 38 games, 12 points clear of Arsene Wenger's Arsenal in second place. Jose was the real deal. The English media is unforgiving. Like cats on mice, they're always eager to pounce on burgeoning success, eager to prove that a player or a manager is a one-season wonder. They might have known little about Jose's time with Porto, but this was a man completely unfazed by any media antics or attempts to show him up. Jose went into the 05-06 season the same way he did for any other season, fully prepared and raring to go. They'd won the league in his first season, perhaps a bit ahead of schedule, and the question now was it a flash in the pan, or could he do it again? 38 league games later, that question was answered. Chelsea Football Club had gone from never winning the Premier League title to winning it back-to-back with more than 90 points each time. This time around, the club's run in other competitions was even less impressive. They got knocked out in the 3rd round of the League Cup, failed to get past Barcelona in the round of 16 of the Champions League, and got knocked out of the semi-finals of the FA Cup, again by Liverpool. They did manage to get their hands on the Community Shield this time though, beating Arsenal 2-1 to claim the pre-season trophy. Back to the Premier League. The hallmark of Jose's success was again a seriously impressive defence and a solid attack. The team only scored 72 goals in 38 games, but they allowed only 22 in. Of the 29 games won, 10 of them were won with single-goal margins, and half of that number were 1-0 wins. It shows the mentality of the team to grind out wins, at times focusing on results over performance. They finished with 91 points, 8 points clear of Alex Ferguson's Manchester United in second place. On an individual level, Jose won a few honours in his time at Chelsea too, perhaps the most impressive one being the world's Best Club Coach Award that he won back-to-back in 2004 and 2005. Other honours that he won while at Chelsea include once Andorre Coach of the Year, 2 times Premier League Manager of the Season, 3 times Premier League Manager of the Month, 2 times UEFA Team of the Year, 2 times World Soccer Magazine World Manager of the Year, 1 time BBC Sports Personality of the Year Coach Award. Although he didn't resign until September 2007, when the 07-08 season had kicked off, the 06-07 season proved to be Jose's last full season in charge. It was a mixed bag in terms of results. He did win the domestic cup double with the FA Cup and the Carling Cup that year, but the team lost the Community Shield final to Liverpool, finishing runners-up in the league, and got knocked out in the Champions League semi-final stage on penalties, again by Liverpool. By the beginning of the 07-08 season, his relationship with the club owner Roman Abramovich was really tense, and the situation was not helped by a handful of underwhelming performances on the pitch by the team. After another disappointing 1-1 result in a Champions League game against Rosenborg, Jose and Roman passed each other in the corridor of the stadium, and the Russian expressed his displeasure at the performance of the team. He's a prideful man, and that expression of doubt from Roman just sent Jose over the top. He asked the boss to sack him if he was bothered about the whole situation, and he was told that he could leave the club if he wanted to. Jose resigned from his position as Chelsea manager shortly after that encounter. His Champions League win with Porto might have brought him to the attention of football lovers across the globe, but Jose's first stint at Chelsea answered any remaining questions in the minds of doubters. He did leave the club on a sour note, but we all know the funny story of Chelsea realising their mistake and eventually bringing him back to the bridge. Perhaps a story for another day.